Alrighty, time for another DraftScience video presentation. So, the simulation, good news. Yeah, first, one of them is starting to work really well, and the other one might be regenerated. Uh, and, the little change of having the color change and the change of direction, blah, blah, blah. I'll go into that in more detail in another video. But it really did fix everything. And so now the only thing breaking it really is the old, um, the old models, the old attempts to find mechanisms, that would not create problems and fix problems and all of that stuff. Well, anyway, it's all just part of troubleshooting and engineering something anyway, but just a simple change and made all the difference. So anyway, that's the good news. Bad news is I'll read some comments that are just absolute crap and trash. And you really shouldn't have to, the internet should not be made this way, where people have to waste time defending themselves against just fucking lies. And it's all it is, and it's disgusting that people can get away with it. And that they'll call themselves intelligent people, which is sort of going to just demonstrate the point that intelligence is the idea of smart people apparently is a big fallacy because they've failed so dismally. The big high IQ people have really dropped the ball in dramatic ways, especially made visible in physics, because it is just a religion. Every single one of their silly notions, and they're all silly. They're bent space, they're quantum mechanics, they're superposition, they're entanglements. I mean, every single aspect of physics they have screwed up in rather dramatic ways. And it's getting, I've already demonstrated so many of the just the awful physics, the propaganda physics, going back to Richard Feynman, telling stories about detector experiments and all kinds of other horse shit. Can't even draw the pattern the way it actually is. Can't even describe the pattern as it actually is. And it goes all the way back 200 years ago to the Young experiment, which wasn't new information at all. Newton had already done these experiments. That's where it just started to become it's a propaganda engine. We want to believe in the wave. The wave is their God. It's their God. The whole idea of giving things like electrons and Volkswagens and even human beings, giving them wave functions and saying they have a frequency when they obviously don't have a frequency. They don't have any wavelength. They're not waving through their lives. And it's just so bad. And the two-slit experiment illustrates it so clearly. They keep talking about how, oh yeah, it's just like sound and just like water. It's not anything like it, really. Sound and water are making fluctuations in the amplitude of the signal, where, in light it's fundamentally different. There is no fluctuations in the amplitude, and, the on and offs aren't switching places. None of that stuff's happening. So the mechanism is completely different, and the pattern is completely different. Sound and water do not create the double slit pattern. They don't create the superposition of two patterns. None of that happens. So it's all just lies and lies and lies and lies. Propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. It's the most proven theory in the history of mankind, proven by their own circular reasoning. We found what we predicted. Therefore, it's correct, except we needed dark matter to fix it. I didn't even mention dark matter. One of the silliest, obvious sweep under the rug your errors bullshit mechanism ever invented by mankind. It's so stupidly, obviously a cheat. It's so obvious a cheat to sit there and pretend, well, I just make up a god, the god of the dark matter that produces just gravity, just what I need, and I can put God wherever I want, wherever I need something to change the mathematics, I'll just stick God in there. It's so bad. And these are smart people. Come on. You know, you're going to get grotesquely humiliated by me. Just a fact, okay? Fact is, you have the wrong theory, you have the wrong thinking process, you were never looking for a simple answer, you always wanted a funky, dopey answer. You wanted it to be jellyfish all the way down. You wanted there to be something magic at the core of the universe, some little singularity in your little silly multiverses. I mean, it's all just so bad. Oh. And to think smart people fell for that crap. And again, in hindsight, these answers are so simple. You're saying, how the hell did they not realize? Well, look, I create 3 simple little rules. 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics. 6, okay? 6 little stupid truths, okay? And all of a sudden, I'm making atoms. I'm making things happen, okay, that fit perfectly what reality's doing. It was that simple. I mean, in hindsight, it's just going to be so obvious. I mean, how could you miss this? It was A, B, C. And here you were reading it upside down. It's something obvious the way you missed it, because you weren't looking for the truth. And that's the bottom line. Starting with Leibniz, he was the first evil player in this fucking, comedy of errors. Overtly a religious guy, overtly saying, change your physics to fit my religion. And you fell for it. Ugh. So anyway. So here's 2 asshole comments by the little bro club. The little club of liars and cheaters and just stinking, lousy, no character, unaccountable pukes. Are you sure this is a DraftScience video? Are you sure you're a real person? I mean, these are, what is this crap? Who even uses this as an argument against anything or anybody? It's so ridiculously stupid. Most people don't live in basements. So what? I mean, you can't imagine that where somebody lives couldn't have anything possibly to do with whether they are capable of recognizing rationally truth or lies. Why does it matter where I live or what I live in? And obviously, I make my videos from a basement. Doesn't mean I live in a basement. Oh, most people are self-aware. What could that possibly have to do with this conversation? And again, I'm the one totally accountable. For 15 years, I have made every aspect of my functionality almost public in an effort to just be completely honest about what I am and who I am, what kind of animal I am. And here you're questioning in some way that I'm not self-aware, when all I do is make videos about the very subject of introspection. I mean, it's amazingly insane, this rhetoric. Okay, how many years do you reasonably believe you have left? Well, as I've pointed out, my grandmother lived to be 107, my father lived to be 96, my mother lived to be 98, their parents lived to be 96, 97, and 107. Their great-grandmother was 101, so theoretically, okay, I could be quite doomed to a very, to becoming quite old. But yeah, I don't plan on doing that, frankly. But how many years do you think I need? I mean, how many years do I need? Okay, I'd say I need a few more months, and I'm going to have so much evidence piled up that you're going to just be drowning in it. Okay, you're going to be drowning in my quicksand. Okay, and you're never going to get out. And you're going to suffocate, as you should, in your own bullshit. Okay, all the shit that you're going to have to put back in your stinking mouth. Okay, all the crow you're going to have to eat, and you're going to be choking on it for the rest of your life, asshole. So that's going to be the fun part to watch, frankly, because it will be you getting what you deserve. You're not getting any younger, so again, this is supposed to be somehow intimidating. In what possible way? And in so many ways, I have self-actualized. I have completed my mission here on Earth. So in many ways, this is not a threat at all, because in many ways I've already compiled all of the I've already given you all of the recipes, okay? And it's just you being able to filter through them, you know, to make, you know, to try to follow the recipe. How many science articles have you published? You mean in Christian Today, or in, you know, Catholic Fun Times? You know, I mean, how many Pope rings have I kissed? Yeah, I haven't done any of that. Okay, so we know your publications are so full of shit. New wooey physics today. I mean, none of the publications have anything to do with fundamental physics or recognizing that they're so full of shit. Is there somewhere in one of those publications where they admit they never repeated the Eddington experiment? Is there somewhere in those publications they explain why they never took advantage of the 400 times better resolution from space? You know, it's a 5-minute, $5 experiment from space. I mean, realistically, they have a telescope already on the space station, no doubt. And no doubt it's quite capable of doing the experiment. So what's the big deal? Instead of doing silly experiments, you know, where they get in front of the camera and do their little silly crap, why don't they do the Eddington experiment? Do you care to answer the question with something like reasoning? You know, it's a fundamental experiment. Proving light is twice as bent by gravity seems a fundamental experiment. Why don't they do a kinetic energy experiment from space and show how, you know, when they shoot a dime out of the side of the space shuttle at 2,000 miles an hour, 1,000 miles an hour, it makes them move so much more than when they shoot, you know, with the same energy, the same momentum, you know, 2 kilograms at 1 mile an hour. Why don't they do that experiment? Oh, that's right, because it won't show that Leibniz was right. It'll show that Newton was right. And it'll show that all of this is horseshit. Your fables are garbage, unevidenced garbage. None of you have produced any evidence. No links to any evidence. Nothing from you assholes. Just your declarations of the truth. You are the flat earthers. You're the ones with the claims and no evidence. All you can do is create distorted pictures and distortions of what somebody said and distortions of what a paper says and distortions of what an experiment proves. But you don't really have any evidence. Anyway, most working physicists publish their first works in their undergrad years. Yes, they get first molested by the priest, and you know, then they get to kiss the Pope's ring eventually when they become one of the molesters. What is this? Again, you think your club has some kind of credibility. You think your publications, even Veritasium made a video about how most of the publication is crap. Most of it isn't reviewed by anybody who knows any physics. So it's already been pointed out that, you know, this isn't really scrutiny. It's just a big gang, okay? And they just publish what they want to hear, and that's it, okay? And they never let anybody publish anything tarnishing their reputation or proving them to be a bunch of lying sacks of ignorant shit. They never even did the experiments they claim they did. They've never even seen it. You know, and they've certainly, obviously never analyzed it. How much time did Feynman spend looking at 2 slit experiments? The fact that he doesn't even know there's 2 patterns is so glaringly dumb that you're saying, how can this guy be an authority on an experiment he doesn't even understand? Anyway, most top PhD programs will not even consider candidates who have never published. So again, and that means absolutely nothing to me. So I'm sorry it means something to you, because the whole fucking thing is a big giant Tower of Babel, a Tower of Woo. None of it is good science. Do you even know what self-awareness is? Do you know what honesty is? Do you know what intellectual integrity is? Do you think you have any intellectual integrity? Do you think you're not a duplicitous hypocrite? Have you ever heard the word hypocrite? Have you heard the word duplicitous? You know, you're a shameful liar to sit there and say you've proven something, or you have evidence for something, or you even have good reason to believe. Where is your good reason to believe sound and water do the same thing as light? Where's your good reasoning? The patterns aren't the same, so why do you think it's a good theory? Why do you think 2 waves come out of the two-slit experiment? Because the math doesn't work. Why do you think math that doesn't work is right? Are you too stupid to figure out that that's an indication that you have the wrong theory when your math doesn't predict the accurate result? All right, why are you walking around a high school with that camcorder? So this never happened. My account on my other channel was in Mendham, which is the name of the town I lived in. And I actually was doing public service in the sense I was for nothing, for free, publishing the town's website. And because the town was full of incompetent, overpaid pieces of shit, I had to arrange for somebody to go out and actually film things, events, and also buildings and such. So I had something to publish on the website. And so I never took any of the pictures I published. And none of them have anything like a high school student or anything in them. There was a picture of the government buildings, the post office, the town council, all of the public buildings. And so yes, the high school was among one of the public buildings, but it was unoccupied, and I wasn't even the one who took the pictures. And so this is an excuse to make this kind of lie on a public message board. This is against the law, so I'm just letting you know this is against the law. You're not allowed to do this. You have no reason to believe I ever did anything inappropriate around any high school. You have zero evidence. And I personally know it never happened. I was never there. So your lie is a complete lie. And it's obviously to degrade and create suspicion about my character. And it's a disgusting thing for somebody to be allowed to do on the internet. You shouldn't be allowed to do this. You should be arrested and punished. Because it's slander, it's a lie. You have no right to do it. And the fact that people defend this fucker, okay, the Stephen Bro types, merely because they're on their side, get what you deserve. Get Osama bin Laden colon cancer, okay? Because that's what you deserve, okay? You deserve to be hoisted on your petard, okay? Get blown up by your own buddy, you piece of shit. Anyway, it's just disgusting. Alright, posting here because you don't check your email, so that's why I deleted and blocked this asshole. I mean, these accusations, I do check my email. So it's just another lie. Okay, so, fuck. None of you can't premise a comment without lying. And you're just demonstrating what smart people do. This is how smart people argue. This is how smart people win arguments, is with a bunch of fucking lies. Also breaking up comments to bypass YouTube censorship, which you condone. So again, a lie. Where did I condone any censorship? I'm all for free speech, but it has to be accountable. Making sock accounts for which you don't have to take any accountability for your lies and your slander is completely bogus. You should be easily made accountable for your behavior. And the fact is that you're the weasel hiding your identity, hiding what you're done. I'm for YouTube letting people publish whatever the fuck they want, alright? But YouTube has to make it all accessible, like they did in the original YouTube. The original YouTube, you couldn't publish comments without somebody being able to search your other comments and see what you're posting on other videos. All of your behavior was semi-public. And that was a really good feature. And why did YouTube get rid of it? That's right, to protect this trolling. Because the trolling generates this kind of activity. It generates activity. Okay, and that's all YouTube cares about, is eyeballs and activity. Lies sell newspapers. And that's all YouTube's doing, is defending liars so it can sell more ads. It's making money on liars. Which is disgusting also. That's what I oppose. So it's just a lie to say I condone censorship. No. I only what I condone, what I defend, is accountability. Freedom with accountability. freedom doesn't mean no accountability. That's a different kind of freedom. The freedom to act with immunity, that's anti-freedom to the people you'll rape. Okay. All right. Hey, I don't know if you'll appreciate this or not. I may have found some leads as far as your $2,000 offer goes. So clearly the offer has been made, it's written, it's lots of things, and it's clearly an offer to gain a broader audience for this conversation because you people aren't capable of making a counter argument. I'm trying to get more physicists involved. I'm trying to get more people who have gone to physics lectures involved so they might be able to articulate some sort of explanation for, say, for example, the Professor Lewin paradox I pointed out. I mean, you know, I've made numerous videos on it. There's one that's only 1 minute long that just shows the paradox. And you haven't provided a single comment explaining how the two things, it can't be true in the sense that you can't argue there's no free energy if what Professor Lewin's saying and doing in the experiment is actually happening. And there's no way to reason out of it. I mean, there's free energy. Why aren't we taking advantage of it? You can gain 16% with each experiment you do. You gain 16% energy. So why wouldn't, you know, why wouldn't we take advantage of that and make free energy? What's your response to the paradox? Nothing. Anyway, so yes, but the $2,000 is obviously being offered to channels that can produce exposure, you know, and provide an audience worth attacking me. You know, I want an audience of something of higher caliber than you. That's what I'm seeking. So there's no point in linking me to people who have who don't mean anything. They have a physics degree. I'm not offering $2,000 for anybody who has a physics degree. I mean, frankly, that would be ridiculous. I mean, when I offered to pay Sabine Hoffenfesser through her website, you know, $50 for a half hour of a physicist's time, I wasn't offering $2,000 for a half hour with any physicist who doesn't have to be accountable and I can't record. What use would that be? Anyway. All right. So he says, unlike you, I've gone out and looked for people. So I've publicly shown, you know, I've publicly offered the money in comment sections that are in this video, in these videos. You know, and to say I haven't gone out and sought their attention is just such a ludicrous lie. I mean, the applied science guy, I've tried 3 times now to get some response from him. But I've done it to all of them. You know, Sean Carroll even, you know, some famous people. You know, no, not very realistic prospect there, but, you know, you might as well give it a shot. But to make this argument, I haven't done it, is just insanely stupid. When I've published the comments sections where they're, you know, responding to me with, sure, I'll do it. And then they find out who I am and they say, oh, well, maybe I won't do it. Yeah. I mean, it's all public, for fuck's sake. Anyway, who may be willing to take you up on your offer? So this is, you know, he said, if he did email me this crap, obviously I didn't pay any attention because this doesn't mean anything. This is useless mush. Okay, one is an engineer who worked at Lawrence Livermore Labs. He seems to be someone who is knowledgeable enough to recognize and refute any of your weird rabbit holes and tend to introduce in the middle of debates. Oh, you mean the ones where I point out that there's 400 times better resolution from space and the Eddington experiment is dirt simple from space and only takes 10 minutes and all you need is a flip cam. So why don't they do it? One of the most famous experiments in the history of science, you know, it seems like it could, you know, that's never been successfully repeated with comparable technology. Well, now your comparable technology, you know, from space, you don't even have to have comparable technology. It can be 400 times shittier technology. 400 times shittier. Oh, fuck. Anyway, you think they're going to have an answer to that? They're not going to have an answer. They're going to say something like, well, we've done other experiments to prove light spent twice as much. Oh, yeah, all the other experiments depend on pushing light through the corona of some hot body, you know, through a bunch of particles that are likely to scatter the light, which, sends the light everywhere. So, yes, you will get lensing from scatter. Anyway, the drawback is that it's not technically a working physicist, although He has an impressive command of many disciplines, including chemistry, math, physics, and he somehow knows all this stuff, and logical systems. If you're the one judging how logical he is, I'm saying, oh, let's start laughing now? I mean, come on. He's also a member of the 999 Society, a high IQ society. See, so that accepts 1 in 1,000. So isn't that so interesting? See, these are all really smart people who are really fucking dumb. And that's what it's going to be proven. I mean, you know, I almost feel like I should take an IQ test. I mean, I did it, you know, I was tested as a kid. And, you know, I've kind of told the story that I got straight F's all the way through grammar school. That's how kind of dysfunctional I was. I mean, I moved from the South to the Northeast. I was 2 years really behind, okay, because of, you know, the bad preschool in the South. I mean, I wasn't very literate. Couldn't read and write. You know, by the 3rd grade, I was still struggling. You know, with those basic, you know, write my name would still work. You know, and so anyway, you know, and I was the youngest kid in the class. The whole thing, lots of things, lots of strikes against me, and they didn't hold me back because of my IQ. So I'm just saying, so it must have been pretty good. I must have been pretty good puzzle and problem solver. Now, the point is that most trivia, I mean, most IQ tests, as I understand it, are full of trivia questions now. You know, like, what's the capital of Thailand or something? I don't know any of that shit. I couldn't care less. So, to me, I'm going to say, well, okay, you know, my IQ can't possibly be off the charts because as soon as you start asking me trivia questions, I'm going to lose all interest. You know, if it's like Jeopardy, forget it. Okay, because yeah, I haven't wasted my time storing crap information. But anyway, so it will be interesting. But the point is that the truth is I've done all of this publicly, and I've shown how simple it all can be. You know, that this is 2 + 2 + 2 physics. I mean, it's really simple. And the fact that they just overlooked any possibility when their whole job was to find the simple answer. That was the whole point of it, really. The whole idea of physics is that it evolves. That is a story that's been a long time part of the game, is understanding that things move through time and they change with time, and time creates complexity, and time does all these things, and you need time for those things to happen. And so it's all basically pointing to the idea that the elemental functions are a checkerboard, that it's just a simple little game, and the simple game makes different patterns, complex patterns, but it's a really simple machine that's making the complex pattern, just like an Etch-a-Sketch. Really simple device making, you know, any kind, you can draw any kind of picture with it. You know, that's the truth, and that's what physics was supposed to be doing. But they were too stupid. They were too religious. They were too, I want a wooey answer. I want to do something important, find the singularity. They invented things like singular. What the fuck is that? Even that language is disgustingly religious. So you just proved yourself to be dumb religious folk, you know, with your big high IQs. And you're wasting them trying to draw a picture of God in crayon again. All right, I'm not going to give his name because I don't want your goons to go harass him. So what a joke that is. So absolutely no evidence that I have any of the people who agree with me or who defend my right to make these arguments even have any interest in harassing anybody. That's the job of you people. You're the one using those tactics. You're the one attacking anybody who says anything. You're the one, again, digging into people's personal lives and all this other crap. That's your tactic, fucker, and you know it. So just more of this disgusting lying. You know, just disgusting. All right. So again, how pointless is this? Oh, okay. You have somebody. You won't ask him. You won't direct him to the website. You won't do anything to encourage it, and you won't give me the name. Oh, really? Brilliant idea. The other is a panelist on The Breakfast Club with Got That Funk. Now, I've already talked about this twice because it's like, who cares? Got the Funk gets 1,000 views or whatever. Who cares? I'm not interested. It's not physics show. It's, you know, what the fuck are you even talking about? Why should this be at all interesting to me? So Joe Stevenson is his name. Who cares? I'm mentioning his name only because he already has a known presence within the YouTube atheist community. Oh, so he's not known as a physicist. So what good is he? I mean, frankly, to this conversation, I don't think he would be interested in even entertaining your BS under normal circumstances. Well, then what's the point? I mean, if somebody's not interested in physics and they, again, frankly, if I am challenged, I feel an obligation to respond to the challenge. You people don't. You just ignore it. So I challenge you to explain Professor Lowen's paradoxical video. I challenge you to explain why they haven't repeated the editing experiment, even though there's 400 times better resolution from space. I've challenged you over and over. I challenge you to explain how the Young analysis of two waves coming out of the double slit experiment is actually accurate, that it ever got right answers, that there was ever a case where if you actually used the center of the openings as the wave centers, that you would ever get a correct answer. Do you have any evidence that it ever worked mathematically? That it ever predicted an accurate pattern? Ever? Ever? Okay, do you have any evidence of kinetic energy being collected? Hello? Do you have any evidence of an 8-pound bowling ball knocking down twice as many pins? Hello? Do you? Oh no. The prospect of gaining $2,000 for an hour's worth of his time may change his mind. It should, frankly, change almost anybody's mind. $2,000 for an hour's work is a lot of money. Frankly, if somebody offered me $2,000 for an hour of talking, I would do it for sure. Yeah, no problem. Oh, it's just so stupid. May be the operative word. And again, how would it be in any way consistent with what I've actually offered, which is not $2,000 to any dopey physicist on Earth? It doesn't serve my purpose to defeat nothing. I have to defeat something, okay? You can't beat up somebody on the street and then say, I'm entitled to a title match. It's not going to get you a title match. I want to knock down the best, okay? Knocking down the least isn't doing me any good. Take my word for it. Both candidates would demolish you in a debate. Yes, you want to bet some real money on it? Okay, yeah. I don't mind, a little side bet, but whatever. You're the one's you're gonna be shit, okay? The rest of your life you're gonna have to live with this harassing bullshit you did in the name of a lie, a fallacy, a religion. You're just a propagandizing, scummy piece of shit. Alright? You're gonna have to live with that. It wouldn't even take an hour. Let me know what you think. I think you suck. I think this whole thing is a big fat pile of nothing. Why you even bothered posting it on the video is, incomprehensible, as it demonstrates you can't even pay enough attention to understand what I'm actually proposing, who I'm actually offering $2,000 to. It's not anybody who just shows up and says, I took a physics class once. I'm not offering $2,000 to Piro, okay, who took a couple of electives. No, not nearly good enough. So anyway, fucking people hate this planet. Yeah, we don't want to save that. So anyway, so this, we'll look at this one more time and then call it a video, because there really isn't any other comments. There's no other action in the world that could be relevant to me. If somebody knows of any evidence and they can link to it, anything put in any kind of coherent form, fine. Any proof of kinetic energy, any proof of light doing what water does, any proof of whatever a bent space is, but there is none. So, people just suck. Ugh. These defenders of the religion. So it's taking its time. Anyway, this will all, like I said, it'll get faster and more precise. Eventually I'll weight the objects, relative to the proton and the electron, so then it'll really start looking like atoms, because the slower things will end up getting stuck in the middle, while the faster things end up arranging around the outside. It's, it's on its way. And once it's illustrated with these simple rules, these dirt simple little rules, 2 rules, basically, a couple of little modifications, but fundamentally just 2 rules are going to run this whole thing, and it's going to end up forming atoms. And you're just all going to look like such assholes for sitting here pretending, oh, well, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a coincidence that it works. Oh, it's a coincidence. Yeah, just happens that this really simple answer, this really simple mechanical checkerboard style answer, the simple rules of checkers, it's just a coincidence that it makes atoms. And then it'll start making charge and making, magnetism, and it'll start simulating all of those things. All of the effects we see in the real world, and it's just going to be a coincidence that it works perfectly. Just a coincidence that the really simple answer doesn't involve any ESP particles, it doesn't involve things being in 2 places at once, doesn't involve whatever wavicles are, doesn't have any interference in it. Just a coincidence that it works just fine in modeling the reality. So eat shit, fuckers. Yes, I'm going to, rain on your parade, in a big way. You're gonna regret, and you're gonna get buried on the ash heap of fucktards. Dunning-Kruger fucktards. Assholes who are just so fucking arrogant, so full of their fucking selves, so full of their, I belong to the good club. And no, you were just assholes. Religious assholes. Yeah. You weren't any better than an ignorant Muslim. Ugh. Anyway. Alright, so till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Yep. This has been a DraftScience video presentation and such.